In this video, you'll discover the 4 major coping mechanisms employed by people that slow them down, cost them their success, and rob them of their potential. I'll also show you the 4 antidotes so that you don't fall in that trap and make the most of your life and create the life that you deserve. Hi, I'm Andy Harrington, and I've used these same tips and techniques to take me from down and out lonely drug addict to multi-millionaire, running several businesses, a Sunday Times best-selling author, international speaker, speaking along greats such as Sir Richard Branson, Tony Robbins, and even Steve Wozniak, the co-founder of Apple. All right, let's get started with these 4 coping mechanisms. All right, first, let's talk about what a coping mechanism is. A coping mechanism is something you employ whenever you get into fight or flight behavior or response. Think of a coping mechanism like training wheels on a bike. When you're a kid, no doubt you use stabilizers or training wheels on a bike as a coping mechanism to help you to balance correctly. Now, that was good for them. It helped you to stay upright, but it's only meant to be a temporary solution. There was a day where your dad came, no doubt, and said, "It is time." And you were meant to take off the stabilizers to then start to learn how to move forward and balance better and go faster, of course, and more successfully on your bike. So think of coping mechanisms in the real world as like stabilizing a bike. It's a behavioral choice that you use. It works in the moment, but ultimately costs you something, and that is your potential. So coping mechanism number 1 is a behavioral trait called a shadow self. Your shadow self is a behavior that comes out when you fight or flight response. The first of those is called the controller. Now, the controller is what you might become under a stressful situation. And of course, the more you try to become successful, the more that you'll move outside your comfort zone. And in doing so, you typically encounter fight or flight response. The controller behavior in you seeks to control things and other people as a way of trying to stay safe, as a way of trying to avoid fear in some way, shape or form. The challenge with this is that the controller often will get you into more trouble in the end. The second coping mechanism is that of the pleaser. The pleaser is the opposite of the controller. The pleaser's biggest fear is being rejected or being alone, and of course conflict. So their way of coping when things get tough and it gets to fight or flight behavior is to shrink down and fit in. Instead of speaking out, enforcing a boundary, but instead of that, shrinking down to fit in and pleasing others, in the hope, of course, that they will validate them and not ultimately cause conflict or leave them. Coping mechanism number 3 is that of the computer. That means the coping mechanism kicks in and the person becomes like a computer. They become what I would call dissociated. Dissociated means detached. They are not really fully present or engaged. They live in their intellect. They don't trust instinct. They tend to judge people harshly. They tend to judge themselves harshly. They're highly critical of themselves and other people around them. They have perfection issues. The issue with this person is their biggest fear is being wrong. So this mechanism comes in, but ultimately costs them a lot because it slows you down. All right, coping mechanism number 4 is called the distractor. Are you the sort of person under stress just likes to keep busy? Are you juggling loads of balls or plates and ultimately costing and robbing yourself of the ability to focus? Do you tend to read more than one book at the same time? Your biggest fear would be the fear of not having an exit. You fear being committed to someone or something. So ultimately, your biggest need, therefore, is variety, and you hate anything that's the same. Now, these are all coping mechanisms, and ultimately, they rob you of your ability to step up, get things done, and ultimately create the life that you deserve. Now, turns out there are 4 antidotes to these. Now, we call these archetypes. An archetype is a good use of that energy, not the bad use or the dark use of that energy, which is the shadow selves I just mentioned. So if rather than be the controller, the good side of that is the warrior. Now the warrior in you doesn't control things, the warrior fights what is right. The warrior enforces the boundaries of the kingdom, broadens the boundary of the kingdom, be courage, get out there, say things, do things, and ultimately stretch themselves and achieve bigger goals. And this is what you want to engage more if you're probably stuck right now in your pleaser. If you're a pleaser, it's likely that your warrior is very underdeveloped because you probably thought the warrior in you was ugly, bad, and it was wrong because of somebody else or something that happened to you. All right, the good side of the pleaser is the lover. The lover is different to the pleaser. The pleaser does things out of fear. The lover does things out of love. The lover is open, honest, and vulnerable, and ultimately is a connector. They put love into everything that they do. If you are highly the controller, it is probably likely the lover is probably underdeveloped in you. All right, coping mechanism number 3 we know is the computer. And the light side of the computer is the sage. The sage within you is different to the computer because the sage is on a search for wisdom and truth. The sage is connected to their higher power and their inner power. They don't fear sharing knowledge and know-how and power. They're not condescending, they're leaders and teachers. That may be underdeveloped in you potentially as well. Okay, the light and good side of the distractor is the jester. The jester is the one that's fun, free, spontaneous, and ultimately frees up energy because they don't take themselves so seriously. Indeed, if your computer is highly developed, it's a shadow self, the way to counter that is with your jester. Because the jester softens the computer within you, does that make sense? And again, if you are highly developed as the distractor, then what you might want to do is develop your sage. So can you see how all of these archetypes, when used well, neutralize the shadow self behavior, which are coping mechanisms when to slow you down? Now, if you've enjoyed this content, you are going to love my 3-day experiential event entitled Power to Achieve. In Power to Achieve, I'm going to take you over 3 days through some amazing concepts to do with mind management and how by managing your mind, you can engage the quality and the also potential inside of you to create the life that you deserve. I'm going to help you both in the personal life and also in your career as well. This is an incredible event over 3 days, and it has been going now for over 8 years, transforming the lives of people around the world. I'd love to invite you to attend this program now. If you click the button right somewhere here around this video, it will take you to a page that explains how the Power to Achieve event works. And I'm going to give you a free ticket to that event. That's right, completely free, no strings attached. By doing this, I'll find some great case studies and people to work with that I'll then use in my marketing to inspire people to get coached and mentored by me in the future. There's going to be over 1,000 people attending this program, and you can get a free ticket for this incredible event by just simply clicking the button somewhere around this video. So go and do that right now, read all about the event, and I'll hopefully see you at Power to Achieve somewhere near you. See you soon.